The second concert in our Tepperman Masterworks series takes place on November 9 and 10 and is a real collection of very interesting pieces from all over the place. The concert opens with a short overture by Canadian composer Jared Miller. Jared is a Juno-nominated composer, and I became aware of Jared's music in a rather unusual way. You see, he and I both teach currently at my alma mater, the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. His music is energetic, vibrant, and very colorful. The work we are opening the concert with is called Ricochet, Reverb, Repeat. Ricochet, Reverb, Repeat. I recently sat down with Jared to find out what the genesis of this piece was.
Okay, well, let me start with the piece first. So, around the time I was finishing my doctoral dissertation, this was like early 2017, throughout 2017, throughout 2018, once I'd graduated and everything, I kind of wanted to go a different direction with my music, actually. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on the really powerful, really expressive, but very thorny music of the Russian postmodernist composer Alfred Schnittke. And after analyzing and studying and writing about his music for like a year and a half, I needed a little bit of a change of pace. And I was also living in New York City at the time, and was still relatively young. And so to celebrate sort of finishing my dissertation and finishing my doctorate eventually, I started to go to different nightclubs that I hadn't really had as much time to go to before. And at some of these clubs, I heard a lot of electronic dance music or techno music. And I found the sound world and the texture in some of these songs to be super captivating. What couldn't necessarily be achieved with acoustic instruments could be totally augmented with electronic instruments in this sort of popular music style. And I started to come up with ideas of how I could possibly reimagine some of these sounds I was hearing in an orchestral context through my own musical language. So I started to write. This is sort of one of several pieces where I do this, where I play around with some of the effects that you might hear in electronic music, but I reimagine them in the acoustic context of an orchestral piece. So the title, Ricochet, Reverb, Repeat, that describes, there's three sections to this piece. In the first section, I essentially am imitating a ricochet effect that I've heard in different pop songs. The second section, this more sort of reverberant effect, more of a sort of, it's called a wet echo, I guess. And then repeat is where not only are all these repeated ideas sort of being repeated over and over again, but there's also material from the first couple of sections that gets repeated as well. So yeah, so that's the gist of the title and the gist of the inspiration.
Next on the program is a work by the Chinese composer Lan Qi-han. The work is called the Qilian Rhapsody, and it is for Pipa and orchestra. A number of years ago, I was lucky enough to meet and work with Pipa player Changlu Wu. She is an extraordinary musician. As a student in the Shanghai Conservatory, she was part of Isaac Stern's film entitled From Mao to Mozart, which happened to win the 1980 Oscar for Best Documentary. After she emigrated to the United States to attend school at the University of Houston, she created the Changlu Wu School of Music. She teaches pipa, zheng, which is Chinese plucked zither, and piano there. She also founded the North American Youth Chinese Orchestra in 2012. I recently caught up with Changlu and asked her about her instrument.
Yeah. So this is pipa, and the pipa is a traditional Chinese instrument, and it has existed for over 2,000 years, and it's very popular instrument in China. So pipa is a lute-like. It's shaped like a pear, see, like a half of a pear. So pipa has 4 strings. So 4 strings. Can you see? Yeah, 4 strings. And the name of this instrument, Pipa, actually comes from the fingering technique. P is forward motion with your index finger, like this. Pa is the backward motion with your thumb, like this. So, P, Pa, together is P, Pa.
Now, the Rhapsody itself is a nod to a very specific part of China. Changlu describes the images that the work evokes.
This concerto is about the beautiful nature of northwestern China. It is about beautiful Qilian mountains, rivers, land. So the beautiful melody is about the beautiful mountain, beautiful river, and beautiful people. So it's about the love of the nature and of the life.
Now, it isn't one movement without pauses, but there are sections.
Yeah, there are like 4 sections. So the first one is about a beautiful Qilian mountains, great Qilian mountains, and grassland and rivers. So the second has a beautiful melody. Actually, it's a folk song melody. So it's about a beautiful river and the beautiful people. And the third one has a lot of fun, has a lot of rhythm, and so it's come from folk songs, and it's about Chinese dance, rhythmic. It's like a dance. So the fourth one is like ending. It's talk about love, the nature.
The final work on the concert is Beethoven's grand Symphony No. 7. The first performance of this piece was exceedingly well received. In fact, it was so well received that there was an immediate encore of the second movement, a movement that I know that you will love. The first performance was actually part of a benefit for the Austrian and Bavarian soldiers who were returning from battle against Napoleon. The second movement, which I mentioned earlier, was so popular that it was sometimes injected into other symphonies, the second or the eighth symphony in place of the ones that he had written. Richard Wagner, the great 19th century opera composer, called this piece the apotheosis of the dance, which was really high praise indeed. The first movement has a very long introduction and uses these rhythms, da 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 da, continually over and over, creating a real sense of urgency and excitement. The second movement, as I mentioned, very popular. The third movement, a wonderful scherzo. And finally, we have this really emotionally charged and fast-paced finale. This symphony is one of the bright spots in Beethoven's works. You know, when we think of Beethoven, we tend to think of a sort of a dark-minded Beethoven 5, da-da-da-da, heavy. This piece has light and effervescence and color and is just beautiful. Join us on November 9th and 10th as we perform all 3 of these extraordinary works.